Welcome back. The latest film being screened as part of the Kamloops Film Society's Winter Film Series is called Rumble, The Indians Who Rocked the World. It's screening tomorrow night at the Paramount. As always, we have Terry and Tom joining us with the lowdown. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
So this primarily is a feature documentary about the role that Native Americans had played in the in music history, popular music history.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And it's part of it is it's been a suppressed history. And even some of the musicians who have had Native American heritage have been really reluctant to identify. And so their careers often did not involve any explicit, exposure as so-called Indian people. Mm-hmm. But their music really reflects this long-standing heritage. Mm-hmm. And we've got an interesting character who the film title is referenced. Rumble was a 1958 hit by a rocker, an early rocker, 1958, named Link Ray, Fred Lincoln Link Ray. And his performance in 1958 became a major factor in the development of certain rock and roll features like power chords, distortion, led to heavy metal and punk rock. And in the movie, they interview some of the leading lights in those music genres, mm-hmm. who say, no, this is definitely, this influenced me. This is why I'm able to create the music I am.
Is this primarily American Indigenous musicians? Do we see anything north of the border?
Primarily, it's focused on American Indian musicians. Certainly, some are surprising. There are a lot of people that don't realize, for example, Jimi Hendrix had a background that he also suppressed, came out through the music. So most of the focus is around Americans who contributed to the music industry in these really powerful mm-hmm. ways. And many of them didn't even realize that they were doing it, actually. Some of them will relate that, they suppressed this part of themselves, but it still managed to find its way through their music.
Sure. Yeah.
And the documentary itself it's extraordinarily powerful. It's really doing very, very well at festival. It's won Audience Choice Awards at Sundance for Most Masterful Storytelling. It's won Best Documentary at the Boulder Film Festival. It's been named at the Kamloops International Film Festival as one of the top 10. It is a Canadian film, mm-hmm. And also, it's still racking up some special jury citation awards at pretty much every time it screens. It's winning something. And,
that's fantastic.
And it's really being lauded as a film that also has the opportunity to heal, because it's really getting us to examine our history mm-hmm. and come to terms with our history and recognize it and to recognize those that contributed mm-hmm. and the ways in which they did so.
Absolutely.
And one important Canadian connection is Buffy Sainte-Marie,
okay.
who has straddled the border very successfully. But again, she was one of the stars in the folk music tradition, mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. but not explicitly Indian in any way until later in her career. Mm-hmm. And you really wonder, and you'll see she's one of the people interviewed in this documentary about what it meant to inherit a tradition of music that gave rise to a lot of what we consider now celebration of Indigenous culture.
Mm-hmm. We have the trailer. Let's take a look.
There was a song came on the radio, a guitar instrumental, and it changed everything.
Link Ray, it's rock and roll.
Rumble. Yeah, that's the one.
Rumble.
Hey, Rumble.
Rumble had the power to help me say, fuck it. I'm gonna be a musician.
And then I found out that he was an Indian.
The music that we know here in the United States is fully supported by input from Native and Indigenous people.
Mr. Randy Castillo! Randy had become one of the most influential heavy metal drummers in the world.
This is Jesse Ed Davis.
I particularly fell in love with Jesse Edwin Davis. He was with Taj Mahal, and Taj's album is what spurred me to rock more.
And here's your rocking chair lady, Mildred Bailey.
From 16 to 20 years old, that's the only thing I listened to was Mildred Bailey. I just said, I want to learn how to sing like her.
Figuring out that these people were Indians, and then we started to ask ourselves, why didn't anyone else know that?
There was this key expression: be proud you're an Indian, but be careful who you tell.
All of a sudden, I was talking about Native American issues and big-time television. And all of a sudden, everything disappeared.
From Charlie Patton to Link Ray, Robbie Robinson invented the genre. Jimi Hendrix was the best in his field. Jesse Ed Davis, everybody wanted him. Well, that's interesting, isn't it?
This has gone too long under the radar.
This is going to be a great film, and not just for people who appreciate, you know, a well-done film, but the fact that the music is going to be fantastic in it as well. Yeah. It tells a story, sort of draws some lines together about how things have come together in the music world.
It's
before
really
people
exciting.
realized it.
It's really exciting to discover why we have what we have in our music industry today. Why is it there? Why is it like that? Who's influenced who? And certainly, you know, you look at somebody like Jimi Hendrix. So would we have had Prince if we hadn't had Jimi Hendrix? You know, you start making these little connections, and it's really exciting to watch a film like that, and every step of the way you're discovering another connection. Oh, this is from this is where this was the birth of this creativity.
Yes, absolutely. It's not something a lot of people probably think about. I'm sure a lot of the First Nations people do. I also find it interesting that they're referred to as Indians, and you know, I think you can use any term you want, but a lot of people put a stereotype on the term Indian, so it's kind of interesting to see that word coming back. Or maybe that's a word that never left south of the border. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, often it's how people self-identify.
Absolutely.
And certainly back in the 60s and 70s, you know, that was the term that was acceptable.
Yes, absolutely.
And but some of these musicians who have some Native American blood in them, like, you know, they singer from the 40s, and others have had this lasting impact. And it's great that people like Tony Bennett, when he was interviewed, say, gee, this is what I owe my career to.
Yes,
and that's what's, I think, really fascinating. I think audiences will really appreciate the care that the documentary filmmakers do. They recreate. They have some, you know, recreations of concerts and events, and they use a lot of archival footage. But I think it's the interviews that bring everything to life.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So 7 o'clock. Paramount tomorrow night, Thursday night.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah,
tickets at the door as always, and at Movie Mart.
Okay, and online if they
online.
Yes, definitely.
If you so wish.
Yes, lots of great history intertwined into this film. If you'd like to check it out again, you can do so tomorrow night, 7 o'clock at the Paramount. We're back after a quick break. Stay with us.